Viewers of Emmerdale are worried that 2 residents could be forced out as Joe Tate begins another plan to take control of Home Farm. The scheming Joe Tate has come up with a new idea to secure ownership of the Home Farm estate, but fans suspect that 2 well-loved characters may suffer as a result. Fans of the ITV drama know that the sly Graham Foster managed to obtain a copy of Kim Tate's will after stealing it from a safe. While going through the paperwork, Joe assumed that Kim would leave everything to him, believing it was rightfully his. However, he was shocked to discover that Kim intends to pass the estate on to her close friend Lydia Dingle when she dies. Joe felt quietly betrayed by his step-grandmother, while Graham took pleasure in the surprising discovery. In the episode aired on Tuesday, Joe harshly criticized Lydia for being late and doubted her ability to keep Home Farm in proper condition. Graham quickly pointed out that Kim's decision had nothing to do with Lydia personally, and that Kim herself was the real concern. Later, Joe apologized to Lydia in the Woolpack and revealed she would receive a pay rise in recognition of her hard work, according to reports. As Lydia reflected on how lucky she was to work at Home Farm and keep an eye on Joe, Graham had already figured out Joe's latest plan. He realized Joe intended to use Lydia's bond with Kim to get her removed from the will. In Wednesday's episode, Joe began questioning Kim's reasons for befriending Lydia, and then unexpectedly set up a bank account in Lydia's name. Fans are now predicting that Joe could try to move Kim's money into this fake account, possibly putting Kim at risk in order to gain control of Home Farm. This situation might ultimately push both Kim and Lydia out of the village. One viewer shared online that something serious could happen to Kim, with Lydia being blamed for it, allowing Joe to take advantage and claim the property. They also mentioned that the situation could have been avoided with a simple conversation, but understood why Kim would want her privacy, adding that they hope the friendship remains intact. Another fan suggested that Joe might attempt to harm Kim and frame Lydia, but could be stopped by Graham. A third person simply commented that Joe appears to be setting Lydia up. Emmerdale viewers believe they have figured out Joe Tate's disturbing plan involving Kim and Lydia, with fears that one character could be set up. Fans of the ITV soap are convinced they understand what Joe Tate is planning for Lydia Dingle and Kim Tate after his recent actions linked to Home Farm. Following revelations about Kim's will this week, audiences suspect Joe is preparing something sinister. He appears to have set his sights on Lydia after learning she would inherit the Home Farm estate if Kim were to pass away. Since uncovering this information, Joe has been acting unusually kind towards Lydia, though she quickly became suspicious of his behavior. In Wednesday's episode, Joe escalated things further, determined to secure Home Farm for himself if anything were to happen to Kim. Graham Foster seemed to uncover Joe's intentions when Joe chose to open a bank account in Lydia's name. Viewers immediately worried that Joe was trying to trap Lydia as part of a shocking scheme. Many believe he plans to accuse Lydia of fraud or stealing money, which could destroy her friendship with Kim and result in her being removed from the will. One fan commented that Joe is clearly targeting Lydia in an attempt to have her written out of the inheritance. Another viewer agreed, suggesting that Joe might frame Lydia for taking money from Kim. A third person shared the opinion that Joe is plotting to set Lydia up in a cruel way. Someone else predicted that something serious could happen to Kim, with Lydia taking the blame, allowing Joe to take advantage and claim the estate. They added that the situation might have been avoided with an honest conversation, but understood that Kim would not want her private matters exposed and hoped the friendship would survive. Another fan suggested that Joe's plan could involve making it look like Lydia is stealing, using the bank account opened in her name to create conflict and force Kim to change her will. One more theory proposed that Joe might try to steal Lydia's identity to gain her inheritance, though they believed Kim would likely see through any false accusations. At the same time, some viewers are concerned that Kim herself could die as part of the storyline. Joe's behavior, along with the focus on the will and his frustration over not inheriting Home Farm, has led fans to wonder if this could be a hint at her fate. Some viewers feel the heavy emphasis on what might happen after Kim's death seems unusual, suggesting it could be foreshadowing a possible exit. With the character having been part of the show for nearly 37 years, fans are questioning whether this could mark the end of her time in the series. One fan shared online that they hope this is not the case, as Kim has recently become one of their favourite characters and they would be upset to see her leave. Another viewer admitted that all the discussion about the will and Joe's desperation has made them think the same, though they questioned whether the show would really kill off such a long-standing character. Meanwhile, new spoilers hint that tensions between the Tate and Dingle families will continue to rise, with more drama unfolding at Home Farm. Emmerdale has revealed an unexpected character who steps forward to help save Paddy and Dylan. Mandy and Aaron Dingle received a stroke of luck in their attempt to assist Paddy and Dylan Penders with their legal situation, as an unlikely person offered their support. This came after their unsuccessful effort to convince Laurel Thomas to mislead the police. Paddy and Dylan are currently facing serious trouble for interfering with justice following the death of Ray Walters, who was killed by Bear Wolf. At the beginning of the episode, the Dingle family learned that the two men might not even be granted bail and could potentially face life imprisonment unless a reliable witness came forward to confirm that Bear acted in self-defense. Such testimony would not only strengthen Bear's case, but could also reduce the severity of the accusations against Paddy and Dylan. With this in mind, Mandy and Aaron began searching for someone willing to provide that vital statement. When Laurel admitted she wished she could help, they asked her to lie on their behalf. However, Laurel refused, explaining that although she felt torn, she could not risk going to prison because of her children, Dottie and Arthur, and her responsibility to care for them. After discovering that his mother had declined, Arthur decided to take matters into his own hands and approached Mandy and Aaron at the Woolpack with an offer. He told them he was willing to lie to the authorities and asked them to tell him what to say, adding that his mother was too afraid, but he was not. When Mandy hesitated and tried to discourage him, Arthur insisted there were details they did not know, including the fact that he was one of the last people to see Ray. He explained that he had an encounter with Ray after he left their house and spoke to him that same day, suggesting he could help without completely lying. Emmerdale continues to air on weekday evenings at 8 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available for streaming on ITVX.